As you may have seen in the last quick clip, the last video, I started stripping the paint off the front fenders. Yeah, paint stripper isn't what it used to be. Kind of put it on there and it didn't really do much, so I took it back to the store, the paint store, and was informed that the active ingredient in paint stripper was banned by the US government because it causes cancer. So basically paint stripper just doesn't work that well anymore. That's a third coat, and I'm finally getting it to bubble here and there, and I got to put it on way thicker than what I normally would. And yeah, it just doesn't work like it used to, no doubt about it. But I'm gonna continue stripping. I'll probably go through 2 or 3 times more paint stripper than what I used to strip a car when it had the active ingredient that worked. And not only did they take the active ingredient out that makes it not really work anymore, it's very expensive now too. So they must be making a killing not having put the active ingredient in it and selling it for twice what it used to go for. I got my ventilator on because this stuff stinks, but I think the fumes are denser than air, so I think they hit towards the ground. But yeah, this stuff, it's working, but it's, you know, kind of crummy. And I take the stuff like this with paint stripper and I kind of smear it around where the paint isn't stripped yet, and hopefully that'll help save some of the amounts of stripper I need to use. But it's I don't even want to get the stripper on these nitrile gloves for fear it would dissolve through these. That's the way it should come off. That's gray is the paint sealer from the factory. They used red oxide primer, and then it was gray sealer, and then the paint. And then the new paint was directly put over the old paint. No primer, no seal. I don't even think they sanded it. I think they just sprayed new paint over the original paint. As you can see when I'm stripping it, there's zero primer between the original paint and the repaint. And like I say, it's a really poor repaint. So that kind of helps when you smear it around. And I'll just sand this stuff off the DA. That stuff will come off easy. I'll give the fender a sand out. And once I get this side bare metal and all these edges bare metal, I'll sand the other side so I can paint it. But I think I'll prime this side with the red oxide primer first, and then I'll paint the other side, and then I'll seal this side and paint it. And then I'll do I'll probably do all the fenders at the same, and the hood at the same time as far as painting goes, but I'm stripping them one at a time. It's just easier for, as you can see, I put that, just loosely hung that fender on the car. It's not even bolted on, it's just sitting there just to get it around out of my way. I just ran a couple loops of wire through a couple holes so it doesn't fall off if it gets bumped. But I'm just gonna plug away at this, and I'll show you when I kind of get it down to a little more bare metal. The fender's in really good shape. I mean, there isn't any rust through on it. That's the way I like paint to come off with paint stripper, like that. And I'm going to smear this around up here where there's still some paint on it, on the fender, because that messed up paint has stripper in it. I remember watching someone's video. I don't remember if it was Cold War Motors with that Fury or who it was, but they used paint stripper and they put something over it to make it so it wouldn't evaporate as quick. That's where the 352 emblem went, right there, where the paint's still on. But anyway, he covered it with something. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if saran wrap would get eaten up in the paint stripper, or if they used aluminum. I just don't remember. I don't remember who did that. I don't remember if it was Cold War Motors or if it was Road King or who it was, but I remember watching, because Road King's restoring a Ford pickup right now. I think it's a 66, it's 60 something. I don't remember the year right now off the top of my head, but it's a pretty cool truck. You should go over and check it out. And Road King 805, I think, is his YouTube channel. And I watch Tyler's Neighborhood Garage all the time. He did that 66 Chrysler 300, and he had the exact same brake booster issues that I have, except he could hear his hissing inside. The way this one's mounted, I can't hear any hissing inside the car, but I suspect it does hiss. And he's found the same thing I found in the past. Getting somebody to sell you the parts for those boosters is absolutely impossible. I think it's a big money-making racket for them. Those parts, those diaphragms and stuff for those boosters probably only cost them, next to nothing, maybe 10 bucks. And then they charge you $200 to rebuild your booster, and that's all. How long does it take them to rebuild a booster? I can do one probably in an hour easily from start to finish. I did the one in the Bel Air. I found the parts at a swap meet and rebuilt it. And because I found a guy in Florida that rebuilt that old Bendix booster, and he wouldn't sell me the parts for nothing. I couldn't get him to sell. He's like, oh, send me the booster and I'll rebuild it. But no, won't sell you the parts. So I said, okay, I'll send you a booster, but I don't want it painted. Send it back in bare metal. I had it all bead blasted. He sent it back with the most hideous paint job. I had to take it all apart, strip it, and paint it. And that's why I just don't like sending them out. They just come back looking like crap. And something I wouldn't put on my car. And so, it's definitely a racket. I agree with you, Tyler, on that with the power brake boosters. It's these companies are just making killer profit on them. Looks like one of the little buttons that the emblem pushes into is missing. There's two there and one there, but there's a hole there without one of those little button tabs in it. But it looks like I'm going to need a little more stripper on there. It's a little sharp edge right there from where they bored that hole. The factory paint's a lot harder to get off than the repaint. The repaint comes off really super easy. You can see some primer right here under the repaint, and that's probably because the door has that hole in it right here. Or no, this is the right side, so this is the passenger side fender. So maybe they fixed some spot in the door, but that's a little bit of primer right in there. That's between the repaint and the original paint. And you can see I can get it right down to the original factory primer, the red oxide. This is the fender that needs a crease fix there and a bump fix there. I suspect something fell on it while it was in storage. That's kind of my thoughts. Alright, well, I'm not going to bore you with scraping and stripping, so I'll show you when it's kind of cleaned up and devoid of paint. Does that show up? You can see where it's been sanded out in the past. It looked like this part right around in here had all the original paint sanded off, and that was to the original model. Why, I don't know. Maybe a deep scratch or something. There's no dent or body damage or rust there. But the fender's clean. The paint's coming off. I'll video when it's all bare steel. Now you can truly see why I bought this car. Yeah, it is. Whoops. Sorry, I'm holding the camera on the tripod and it turned, but yeah, it is rust free. Now I marked out every bit of body damage I could find on this fender, and there's a little ever so slight ding there, and I'll bump that out. There's just a tiny, can you see it there? Shopping cart dings there, I suspect. One there, one there. There was some little ding right there in the bottom. This corner, this part here is damaged. And this is that dent that I was talking about. I took those little pins out, that, you know, those things that the pins go in for the emblem, so I could sand all that and paint it. But these lines are where it's dented outward, and this is where it's dented inward. And I suspect something hit it here hard enough to cut the braces back there. And I suspect whatever hit it caused the brace to push this out. So I gotta push these in. There's no getting around it. And this I gotta try and push out. But there's no, you can't use filler on something that's bent out. And I'm not putting 1/4 inch of filler on this beautiful solid fender. I'm going to try and avoid putting any filler on it. If I have to, it's going to be less than a teaspoon. And but yeah, it's super solid. I think the reason why this car was, just from you know, using an educated guess, I think this car was repainted because it was egged, or somebody threw something at it, that because you could see where like lines had run down in the paint in a few spots, and where they had sanded and feathered it out to repaint the car. So only, they didn't prime the car other than where the areas where they sanded out. And with the paint stripper, you could clearly see these lines, you know, when I was taking the stuff off. It was visible. I should have videoed it, but if I get another fender or panel with the same situation, I'll video it. But I'm thinking that's why the car was repainted. Somebody egged it or threw some type of chemical on it that damaged the paint. And they just threw a kind of a, you know, a Mickey Mouse paint job on it. But we're going to put a good one on it, hopefully. So I'm going to bump all these dents out before I sand the inside of the fender. I'm going to sand the inside, and I got to hand sand all these edges. There's a little ding out right there. I want to bring, does it show up? I want to bring that in so it's flush with the rest of the joint. Clean all these sharp spot welds off. There's a sharp spot weld there. Just make it look a little nicer. So I'll clean all this up, sand that edge all out, make it sure it's all nice and straight. Same with all the edges. I'll have to hand sand and make sure they're all straight. These edges, these are important because you can see these. These you really don't see, but I still want them to look nice. I mean, the fender's off, it's bare metal. Why not take the extra 5 minutes to make that look good too? So we're gonna, I got about 3 hours into it right now, so that's 3 hours to get it to bare metal. My poor air compressor runs non-stop, running the DA with the bead blast cabinet. It cycles. With the DA, it just runs non-stop. So I just spent about, of those 3 hours I worked on it, I probably spent about 45 minutes sanding it out with the DA. And that air compressor ran that full 45 minutes without shutting off. It was maintaining about 70-80 psi, but it ran endlessly. So anyway, that's what it looks like in bare metal, and I don't want to get this dusty, so I kind of covered it up. The truck, you know, I'm going to be driving it, and it's going to get dirty, and I'll just, a little dust won't hurt. I'll run it through the, you know, take it to the car wash when it gets super dusty. But this, yeah, I don't want it to, you know, that's why I want to be able to back it out so I can keep stuff off of it. Like when I prime, I'm going to strip the other fender maybe tomorrow, and the hood the day after that, or sometime this weekend. And then I'm going to probably be priming them all at the same time, painting the undersides all at the same time. And the weather has kind of turned for the more like winter, so it'll probably have to paint inside. Yeah. We only got about a 1/2 inch of snow. They were predicting 5 to 7 inches, I think, and we got maybe a ½ inch. I cleaned that out, and we've got maybe a dusting today. But oh, and my exhaust there, the old exhaust. If somebody wants it, they can have it. They just got to come and get it. But yeah, so that's why I want to be able to back the car out. So if it's too cold out to spray outside, I can spray in here. If it's not too cold to spray outside, it will get sprayed outside. It looks like it's going to be about maybe 2 or 3 days on each fender and the hood. So probably, you know, it's bare metal in 1 day. Probably another day to bump it and sand the inner fender, and another day or two to get it ready for prime, and or even prime it. Probably tomorrow I could have it bumped out and inner sanded and ready for primer. And then I'll do this fender. I'll leave that one bare metal, and I'll do this one, leave it bare metal. I'll do the hood, leave it bare metal, and I'll do the cowl and whatever else up there, and you know, get them all primed up and paint the underside at the same time. And then as I got 2 gallons of body paint, and I'm using 1 gallon for the inner panels and 1 gallon for the outer panels, so everything on the outside matches everything on the inside. And the colors were mixed at the exact same time, so I doubt there's going to be a mismatch, but I'm just not taking a chance. So 1 gallon's outer, 1 gallon's inner. And I got to pick up some gray sealer. I don't have any gray sealer. I have red oxide primer, so I can prime them up and you know, make sure I get all the dents and everything fixed with my sanding block, and then seal them and paint them. And the other side, I'm gonna paint body color, just sand it out and paint body color. I'm not gonna bother priming anything but the bare metal. The old paint that I sand, I'll just paint over, and you know, I'll sand it out really good, but I'm not stripping it. It's just too much work for something you can't see. Just one last thing. A lot of you probably think the body work is, you know, miserable, but actually that's kind of, I enjoy doing the body work. It's almost my favorite part of doing the car is the body and paint work. That's where you get the, you know, the most results when you stand back and look at it. So anyway, just thought I'd add that. I'm going to call it a day. If you like my video, hit the like button. If you want to see this beautiful Galaxie all restored, subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.